What happens when one of Hollywood's most outspoken environmental champions walks into a talk show ambush he never saw coming? The result is pure, unfiltered chaos. And what you're about to hear is the most explosive fictional TV moment of the year. Before we get into this wild scene, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this one gets intense fast. The studio lights blazed overhead as a fictionalized version of Leonardo. DiCaprio settled into the plush chair opposite the views panel. He'd arrived expecting a routine conversation about his latest environmental documentary softball questions. Easy banter, maybe a clip or two. What he got instead was a full-on verbal ambush. Joy Behar leaned forward with a pointed smirk. Her stack of notes spread out like ammunition. "So, Leo," she began, dragging out his name with theatrical disdain, "you're here to talk about climate change again. Tell me, how many private jets did you take to get here today?" DiCaprio blinked, momentarily surprised, but kept his composure. "Actually, Joy, I drove here from my hotel. I've been working hard to reduce my carbon footprint. That's what my documentary addresses." "Oh, please," Joy cut in with a dismissive wave. "You lecture everyone about emissions while yachting around the Mediterranean with models. Don't you think that's just a little hypocritical?" The other hosts shifted in their seats. Whoopi glanced between them, sensing the tension spike. The audience fell into a heavy silence. DiCaprio straightened, his voice still steady but edged with steel. "Joy, you're conflating personal history with systemic advocacy. I've donated over $100 million to environmental causes and changed my entire lifestyle," Joy snorted. $100 million? That's pocket change compared to your net worth. And don't get me started on your foundation. How much of that money actually goes to the environment? Are you questioning the legitimacy of my foundation?" DiCaprio asked, his tone dropping. "Because I can provide detailed financial reports showing exactly where every dollar goes." Joy reclined, satisfied she'd struck a nerve. "Oh, I'm sure you can provide reports. Hollywood accounting can make numbers say anything. Just like it can make someone look like an environmental hero while they burn more fuel than a small country." Gasps rippled through the audience. Sunny Hostin tried to steer things back to the documentary, but Joy wasn't done. "You know what really bothers me?" she pressed, pointing her pen like a weapon. "Actors who think a movie credit makes them experts. You dropped out of high school, Leo. What qualifies you to lecture world leaders on climate policy?" DiCaprio's jaw tightened. "Education comes in many forms. I've spent 15 years working with scientists and visiting communities experiencing climate change firsthand. Have you? I don't need to visit glaciers to recognize hypocrisy," Joy shot back. "And I don't need a lecture from someone who thinks private jet travel is fine as long as they buy carbon offsets. That's like punching someone then apologizing later. It's a false equivalency," he replied, voice rising. "Offsets, when done correctly, have measurable impact." Joy rolled her eyes. "Offsets are just guilt coupons for the rich. Meanwhile, regular people are choosing between heating their homes and buying groceries. Thanks to the policies you and your friends push." The accusation hung heavy in the air, and the studio fell into stunned silence. DiCaprio leaned forward, the light catching his eyes as they flashed with barely contained anger. "People like me?" he repeated. "What exactly does that mean, Joy?" "It means wealthy Hollywood elites who have no idea how real people live," she replied without missing a beat. "You exist in a bubble of yes-men, luxury retreats, and private islands. When gas prices spike because of environmental regulations, you don't feel it. When energy bills skyrocket, it doesn't change your life one bit." "You're absolutely wrong," DiCaprio shot back, heat rising in his voice. "I grew up in Los Angeles with a single mother. I know what it means to worry about bills. And that's why I care about sustainable solutions that help everyone, not just the wealthy." Joy let out a sharp, cutting laugh that echoed through the studio. "Oh, spare me the sob story. You haven't worried about a bill in decades. Don't sit there and pretend you understand. The struggles of working families, when you spend more on one vacation than most people earn in a lifetime." The camera zoomed in just as a crack appeared in DiCaprio's composure. His face flushed. frustration rumbling under the surface. "This is exactly what's broken about public discourse," he said. "Instead of talking about real solutions, you're more interested in personal attacks and character assassination." "Character assassination?" Joy gasped with theatrical shock. "I'm asking questions. The same questions your starstruck fans in the media are too dazzled to ask. If you can't handle basic scrutiny about your lifestyle choices, maybe you shouldn't market yourself as the moral compass of environmentalism." "Basic scrutiny." DiCaprio echoed, incredulous. "You've done nothing but attack me personally since I sat down. Not a single question about the documentary. Not a single question about the science. Not one about the solutions we're proposing." Joy shrugged, all faux innocence. "I'm asking about your credibility. If you're going to be the face of environmentalism, people deserve to know if you actually live the values you promote." Now that was the breaking point. DiCaprio rose abruptly from his chair, startling the other hosts. "You know what, Joy? I came here in good faith to talk about real environmental issues that affect every single person on this planet. And all you've done is go after me personally."
Oh.
Joy didn't move. A satisfied smile curved her lips. "Oh, so now you're going to walk out?" "Very mature, Leo. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't handle being challenged." "Challenged?" DiCaprio thundered. "You call this a challenge? You haven't offered a fact. Not one counter-argument. Not a single alternative solution. All you've done is try to tear me down because you don't agree with environmental policy." "Sit down, Leonardo," Joy ordered, dripping condescension. "You're embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassing myself." DiCaprio barked a bitter laugh. "You've turned what should have been a serious conversation about the future of our planet into a cheap tabloid spectacle." Whoopi finally raised her hands, trying to calm the storm. "Leo, please, let's just know, Whoopi," DiCaprio snapped, eyes burning into Joy. "I want to hear more of Joy's brilliant insights. Please enlighten us. What's your solution to climate change? What's your plan for the millions of people who will be displaced by rising sea levels?" Joy leaned back, savoring the spotlight. "My solution? Stop listening to hypocritical celebrities and start listening to scientists who don't have massive financial conflicts of interest." "Financial conflicts of interest?" DiCaprio's voice jumped an octave. "What are you talking about?" "I've poured my own money into renewable energy, sustainable tech, conservation. Half the time it costs me more than it earns." "Oh, please." Joy waved her hand dismissively. "Your Tesla investments alone made you millions as governments pushed EV mandates. Your solar stocks tripled with subsidies. Don't act like you're not profiting." DiCaprio stared at her, stunned. "Are you seriously suggesting I advocate for environmental causes to make money?" DiCaprio's face flushed a deep, furious red. "That's not just wrong, that's insane." "What's insane?" Joy fired back instantly. "Is thinking we should reorganize our entire economy because a man whose main qualification is pretending to be other people says so?" A collective gasp rippled through the studio. The audience fell into a stunned, coffin-quiet silence. Sarah N. and Alyssa Farah Griffin sat frozen, caught between intervening and watching the disaster unfold in real time. DiCaprio pushed back from his chair and began pacing. "Unable to stay still? My biggest qualification?" he repeated, incredulous. "I've worked with NASA scientists, no AA researchers, climatologists from every major university you can name. I've funded peer-reviewed studies and conservation projects on 6 continents, and I'm sure," Joy cut in smoothly, "they all told you exactly what you wanted to hear. Funny how the science always lines up perfectly with your political agenda." "Political agenda?" DiCaprio stopped pacing and stared at her as if she'd spoken another language. "Saving the planet is a political agenda to you? Protecting future generations is a political agenda. When it requires massive government control over energy, transportation, and industry is," Joy said, unblinking. "And when celebrities like you promote those policies while living lifestyles that mock the very principles you preach, it stops being activism. It becomes propaganda." DiCaprio slammed his palm onto the back of his chair. The sharp crack echoed through the set. "That's enough. You don't know what you're talking about. You sit here cracking jokes and attacking people who are actually trying to solve problems? Solving problems? Joy's tone turned razor sharp. Your solution is flying to climate conferences in private jets to lecture everyone else about sacrifice. I haven't taken a private jet to a climate conference in over 3 years. DiCaprio shouted, his composure finally disintegrating. But you wouldn't know that because you don't research anything. You repeat talking points tailored to protect your worldview. Joy rose from her chair now too, matching his intensity watt for watt. My worldview, she said, is that we shouldn't cripple our economy based on predictions from the same experts who swore we'd be in a new ice age 40 years ago. That is a complete lie. DiCaprio's voice cracked under the strain. The scientific consensus has been consistent for decades. You are spreading disinformation. Disinformation. Joy barked a harsh laugh. You're the one who made a documentary claiming Miami would be underwater by now. You're the one who said Arctic ice would be gone by 2020. So tell us, Leo, where's the ice? The Arctic has lost 75% of its ice mass. DiCaprio roared. The data is clear. The evidence is overwhelming. And you are sitting here denying reality. I'm sitting here asking why we should trust someone who's been wrong about every prediction he's ever made. Joy shot back. You've preached climate doom for 20 years. Yet here we are, still above water, still growing food, still living our lives. DiCaprio jabbed a finger toward her. People are dying. Joy. Extreme weather events are increasing. Droughts, superstorms, wildfires. Entire communities are being destroyed. But you don't care because none of it touches your comfortable life in New York. People have always died from natural disasters, Joy said coolly. That doesn't mean we should panic and hand our lives over to environmental extremists who want to tell us what cars we can drive, what food we can eat, and how we can heat our homes. Environmental extremists, DiCaprio repeated, his voice now hoarse. Wanting clean air makes me an extremist? Wanting a habitable planet makes me an extremist? Wanting to control every aspect of human behavior under the guise of environmental protection? Joy replied without missing a beat. That's what makes you an extremist. The tension in the studio became suffocating. Security had quietly stepped closer to the set ready. Waiting, the other hosts looked like deer caught in a high-beam spotlight, powerless to stop what had become a full-scale implosion. DiCaprio dragged both hands through his hair, chest heaving as he tried unsuccessfully to pull himself back from the edge. This is unbelievable, DiCaprio said, shaking his head. Absolutely unbelievable. You're more focused on scoring political points than talking about solutions to the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced. And you're more focused on virtue signaling than admitting. Your entire movement is built on fear-mongering and hypocrisy. Joy snapped. Fear-mongering. DiCaprio's voice dropped into a dangerous, quiet simmer. Joy, do you have children? Yes, I do, and I don't appreciate you dragging them into this. She shot back, instantly defensive. I'm not dragging them into anything, DiCaprio said, his voice rising. The climate crisis already has. Every day we delay action is a day stolen from their future. Joy rolled her eyes so dramatically the audience winced. Oh, spare me the emotional manipulation. My kids will be fine. They'll live in a world with abundant energy, modern technology, and real prosperity. Not the pre-industrial wasteland you're trying to create. DiCaprio stared at her, stunned. Pre-industrial wasteland? Are you completely out of your mind? Renewable energy is some of the most advanced technology humanity has ever developed. Advanced technology, Joy sneered, that stops working when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. But I'm sure your mansions have backup generators for when the grid collapses. This conversation is over, DiCaprio declared sharply, heading toward the edge of the set. I'm done wasting time trying to have a rational discussion with someone more interested in character assassination than facts. Running away again, Leo? Joy called after him with a mocking grin. Perfect. The great environmental crusader can't handle a few tough questions from a talk show host? DiCaprio whipped around so fast, the camera struggled to track him. Tough questions? You haven't asked me one legitimate question this entire time. All you've done is spout conspiracy theories and personal attacks. Conspiracy theories? Joy's voice rose into a shrill pitch. It's a conspiracy theory to point out you live like a billionaire while telling everyone else to sacrifice. I have sacrificed. DiCaprio roared, his voice echoing across the studio. I've transformed my lifestyle. I drive electric vehicles. My homes are carbon neutral. I'm plant-based. Joy burst into exaggerated laughter. Oh, you eat plants. How noble. I'm sure that makes up for the yacht and the private island. I sold the yacht 3 years ago. DiCaprio screamed, voice cracking with fury. But you don't care about facts. You only care about destroying anyone who challenges your narrow worldview. My narrow worldview? Joy shot back, now standing and shouting full volume. I'm not the one trying to fundamentally reshape civilization based on computer models. Those computer models have been proven right over and over again. DiCaprio shouted, his hands shaking. Every prediction, every trend, every warning has come true or been exceeded. Really? Joy's voice dripped with acidic sarcasm. Then why are you still here making the same doom and gloom predictions you made 20 years ago? Because people like you keep blocking the solutions. DiCaprio exploded. Every time we push for renewable energy, carbon pricing, conservation, people like you flood the discussion with lies and misinformation. Joy jabbed a finger toward him. We stop you from destroying jobs, crushing the middle class, and handing the economy to environmental fanatics. Environmental fanatics, DiCaprio repeated, his voice cracking under the strain. We're the fanatics. You want to burn fossil fuels until the planet is uninhabitable. The planet isn't becoming uninhabitable. Joy screamed back. That's the hysterical nonsense I'm talking about. Look at the data, DiCaprio thundered. Look at the temperature records, the ice sheet measurements, the sea level rise. The evidence is overwhelming. I have looked at the data. Joy shouted. I've also looked at the failed predictions, the manipulated statistics, and the financial interests behind your entire movement. DiCaprio just stared at her, jaw clenched, chest heaving before finally speaking, voice full of cold disgust. You are exactly what's wrong with this country, he said. Willfully ignorant, proudly uninformed, and completely unwilling to consider evidence that challenges your beliefs. And you, Joy fired back instantly, are exactly what's wrong with celebrity culture. You're arrogant, out of touch, and convinced your fame makes your opinions more valuable than everyone else's. My opinions? DiCaprio let out a bitter laugh. These aren't my opinions. This is the scientific consensus of every major research institution on Earth. Scientific consensus bought and paid for by environmental lobbyists and grant money. Joy shot back. That's insane. DiCaprio threw his hands up, disbelief etched across his face. You're accusing thousands of scientists across dozens of countries of participating in a global conspiracy? I'm accusing them of having financial incentives to reach certain conclusions. Joy replied coldly. And what about fossil fuel companies? DiCaprio demanded. What about their financial incentives? The billions spent spreading climate denial? At least they're honest about wanting to make money, Joy said. They don't pretend to be saving the world while they do it. DiCaprio stared at her as though he couldn't believe what he had just heard. Did you really just imply fossil fuel companies are more honest than climate scientists? I said they're more honest about their motivations. Joy clarified, though the distinction only fueled DiCaprio's rage. This is beyond belief, he muttered, shaking his head. Absolutely beyond belief. You're defending oil companies while attacking scientists, trying to protect human civilization. I'm defending common sense, Joy snapped. And calling out hypocritical celebrities who want to control how everyone else lives. Control how everyone lives. DiCaprio's voice cracked into a shout. We want people to have clean air and safe water. We want coastal cities to remain above sea level. We want a habitable planet for future generations. And to get that, Joy shot back. Ticking items off on her fingers, you want control over energy. Transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, construction. That's not environmentalism. That's authoritarianism in green paint. DiCaprio was visibly trembling now, fury radiating from every muscle. You're delusional. Completely and utterly delusional. There is no reasoning with someone who thinks basic. Environmental protection equals authoritarianism. Die. And there's no reasoning with someone who thinks they can micromanage the planet's climate by destroying the economy. Joy replied with icy calm. The studio had descended into chaos. The other hosts were silently waving at producers off camera. Security had moved to the edge of the stage. The audience sat frozen, wide-eyed, witnessing a meltdown that would be replayed for years. DiCaprio inhaled deeply, trying to salvage some composure. Joy, he said slowly, I came here hoping for an intelligent conversation about the most important issue facing humanity. Instead, I walked into a wall of willful ignorance, misinformation, and hostility. And I encountered exactly what I expected, Joy replied smugly. An arrogant celebrity who collapses under scrutiny and resorts to name-calling when his authority is questioned. DiCaprio turned to the main camera, voice steady but burning with restrained fury. To anyone watching, please, don't let people like Joy Behar convince you that caring about the environment makes you an extremist. Don't let ignorance and hostility drown out the truth. The science is clear. The evidence is overwhelming. And our children's future depends on the choices we make right now. Then he faced Joy one last time. As for you, I hope one day you understand the damage this rhetoric causes. When your children ask what you did during the climate crisis, I hope you have a better answer than attacking the people trying to solve it. Joy's reply sliced through the air. When my children ask me what I did during the climate hysteria, I'll tell them I stood up to celebrity bullies who tried to scare people into giving up their freedom and prosperity. DiCaprio didn't respond. He simply turned and walked off the set, leaving behind shocked hosts, stunned producers, and what would become the most infamous television moment of the year. The fallout was immediate, tanned, explosive, and the way DiCaprio completely unraveled under Joy's relentless challenge raised a question people are still arguing about. Did Joy go too far?